Welcome to this week's virtual drasha. This week we have the incredible privilege to read Parshas Vayera, and the parsha itself is bookended by dramatic episodes. The parsha begins with HaKadosh Baruch Hu's visit to Avram Avinu to be Mevakir Chola, to visit the sick. The parsha ends with Akedas Yitzchak, Avram Avinu's willingness to sacrifice his one and only son from Sari Imenu as an incredible display of devotion, of dedication to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And of course, in the middle of the parsha is the birth of Yitzchak. Avram and Sarah, after having waited so many years, are finally blessed with this incredible, beautiful bracha of bringing a child into this world. And the pasuk says as follows. This is in Perek Chaf Aleph, pasuk Aleph, chapter 21, verse 1. The Torah says, Vashem pakad es Sarah ka'asher amar. Hashem remembered Sarah as he had said, Vayas Hashem l'Sarah ka'asher diber. And he did for Sarah as he had said he would. Incredible. Rashi HaKadosh notes an interesting juxtaposition, and Rashi says, why is it that this section is juxtaposed to the story of Avimelech, which occurred just beforehand? Remember again, Avram and Sarah were forced to relocate to the city of Gerar because of famine, and Sarah, a very beautiful woman, is taken by Avimelech. Avimelech's entire family is stricken by a plague. Avram davens for them, Sarah is returned. We know the story. So Rashi says, why the juxtaposition between these two stories? And Rashi HaKadosh says something amazing. Rashi says, Samach Parsha Zu, why the Parsha is juxtaposed? L'lamdecha, to teach us, Shekala Mavakish Rachamim Achavero, because if you daven for your friend, V'hu tzarach la'osa davar, and the davener, the petitioner, requires that very same thing, Hu na'anet tchila, he is answered first. Shene'emar v'yispalal u'samech lei v'Hashem pakar Sarah. So Rashi says something amazing. The Medrash tells us that what was the plague which afflicted Avimelech's family? All of the bodily orifices were closed up. Pretty terrible thing. Amongst that, women who wanted to give birth were unable to give birth. So Avram Avinu sees the tsar of Avimelech's family. He davens for them, and as such, the wombs were opened, and therefore, again, the women of Avimelech's home gave birth. In the schus of Avram Avinu, so Avram davened for the wombs of Avimelech's home to be opened up, and again, Avram needed that same bracha. Avram also needed a child from Sarah for her womb to be opened. So therefore the Gemara says, when you daven for someone, and you need that same bracha for which you are davening someone else should have, Kadosh Baruch Hu answers you first. Avram davened for Avimelech, that the wombs of his home should be opened up. Avram needed that same bracha for Sarah, and therefore Avram is answered. Hence the juxtaposition between the story of Avimelech and the birth of Yitzchak. And there's an obvious question. Sari Imenu was already promised a child. Again, that's even the lashon of the pasuk. Vashem pakad es Sarah ka'asher amar. Hashem remembered Sarah as he had said. Vayas Hashem l'Sarah ka'asher diber. Sarah's already promised. The beginning of the parasha, she's already promised a child. The malachim already tell her, Ka'is chayon, a year from now you're going to have a child. So what's the pshat? Rashi makes it sound like the reason that Avram and Sarah are being given a child is because Avram davened for Avimelech. That's the schus. But it's not true. It's not true. Sarah and Avram were being given a child because Hashem had already promised them a child. So what's the pshat? So perhaps Rashi is trying to teach us something amazing. And the truth is Rashi already alludes to this answer back in Bereshis. The Torah tells us that when Hashem created the vegetation in the world, the vegetation didn't sprout forth from the earth immediately. Rather, the vegetation remained right below the earth. Why? Because Rashi says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted man to daven for rain. Hashem wanted man to daven for rain. Then the rain would come and the vegetation would come forth. Or in other words, Hashem wanted man to do something to bring bracha into this world. Bracha doesn't just occur by itself. Bracha, even if it's ready, even if it's deserved, even if it's waiting for you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants man to do a pa'ula. Hashem wants man to do something to bring bracha into this world. And it's an incredible thing. Because if you would have walked into the world before man davened for rain, you would have looked at the soil, looked at the field, it's barren. There's nothing here. It's empty. Astonishingly empty. Tohu mamish, nothing here. Meanwhile, the bracha was waiting right beneath the earth. It was ready to come forward, but HaKadosh Baruch Hu just needed man to do something. And perhaps that's the pshat over here as well. Where Avram and Sarah promised a child? Absolutely. Absolutely. Were they going to get a child? Absolutely. It was there. The bracha was there. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to Avram, I need you to do something. I need you to do something. The bracha is yours, it's waiting for you. But you have to do something to bring it to fruition. What was the something that Avram Avinu did? What was the something? The something was davening for Avimelech. You gotta do something to bring bracha into this world. Kadosh Baruch Hu just doesn't deliver bracha. Bracha is not like the newspaper. It doesn't just show up at your doorstep. Even the newspaper doesn't show up every morning at your doorstep. But again, even if you have a good paper delivery system, bracha is not paper that is delivered to your door and it just shows up. Bracha doesn't just come snuggle up next to you on the couch because you're waiting for it. Bracha, even if deserved, bracha, even if warranted, requires some level of dynamic human activity to bring it into fruition. Sarah and Avram were promised a child, but HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, Avram, do something. And Avram did something. What was the something? He davened for Avimelech. And in the schus of that something, in the schus of that tefillah, the bracha came to fruition. And what an incredible message and lesson for us as well. Because the truth is, HaKadosh Baruch Hu has so much bracha in store for each of us. It's waiting. Imagine the metaphor, like that Rashi gives us. What Rashi was saying as a metaphor, it was real, but the metaphor for us, if you can imagine, each of us have that soil of life. And right beneath that soil is all of this beautiful vegetation, that vegetation of blessing, that vegetation of bracha, beautiful and incredible things waiting for each of us in life. But you have to do something to bring it to fruition. You have to do something in order to bring it from beneath the ground to on top of the ground. You have to do something to realize that bracha. And I think this message has two parts. There's a spiritual something, and there's an active life something. The spiritual something may be like Avram Avinu. Perhaps all I needed in my life to bring about bracha is a bit more dynamic spiritual activity, a bit more tefillah with kavana, a little bit more learning of Torah, a little bit more chesed, a little bit more tzedakah. In other words, the bracha's there. It's waiting for me. It's waiting for me. I just have to do something to bring it forth. And maybe all it is one little extra nugget, one little extra morsel of dynamic spiritual activity. And on we'll call it a non-ruchni level, a life activity level, so many times in life, there are great things, great opportunities that are waiting to be actualized, that are waiting to come to fruition. But I have to do something. So often we go through life, like we wait for opportunity to come to us. We wait for dynamic options and opportunities to come to us, and it doesn't work that way. If you want something out of life, you have to go and get it. And the amazing part is that the moment you're willing to mobilize yourself, get up and move, you'll be amazed about how many opportunities there are, how many doors are waiting to be opened, but no one's going to open the door for you. HaKadosh Baruch Hu puts so many beautiful doors of opportunity in front of us, and He says, no, open it. I'm not opening it for you. You have to do something to actualize your opportunities. You have to do something to make great things. I'll put every opportunity in front of you. I'll put every door. I'll put all the vegetation. But you've got to daven. You've got to learn. You've got to get up and do. You have to do something to bring about the beautiful bracha in life. Just like Avram and Sarah, the beautiful blessing of Yitzchak was waiting for them. It was promised to them. It was guaranteed to them. Yet it only comes to fruition after Avram Avinu does something. There is so much bracha waiting for each of us. All we need to do is find the courage to do something. Wishing everyone a good Erev Shabbos and a beautiful Shabbos Kodesh.